sacred nature of kingship.
So, Your Royal Highness, if you put the stole over the king's head.
A king battling cancer. A son already carrying more of the crown's weight than the public realizes. And a royal family that survived one of its worst scandals in decades, the fall of Prince Andrew, while trying to figure out what the next chapter looks like. This isn't a leaked decree or a secret ceremony. This is what's actually happening, in public and in the reporting around Buckingham Palace, as Britain quietly prepares for a transition nobody wants to rush and nobody can ignore. If you follow the royal family and want stories grounded in what's actually being reported, not just what sounds dramatic, stick around and consider subscribing so you don't miss how this story develops. King Charles III was crowned in May 2023, nearly 9 months after inheriting the throne on his mother's death. In February 2024, Buckingham Palace announced he'd been diagnosed with a form of cancer and was undergoing treatment. He's continued to work through it, state visits, investitures, public engagements, but the diagnosis changed the emotional backdrop of his reign. Every appearance is now read, fairly or not, for signs of how he's doing. At the same time, Prince William has visibly stepped into more of the monarchy's public-facing work. That combination, an ailing king and an increasingly prominent heir, is exactly the kind of situation that generates intense speculation. And royal reporting, especially online, has leaned hard into that speculation, sometimes blurring the line between confirmed fact and anonymous, insider claims. So let's separate the two. A few things are matters of public record, not rumor. Charles's cancer treatment has been ongoing since early 2024, and the palace has been unusually transparent about it compared to past royal health matters, though it has stopped short of naming the type of cancer. William, for his part, has taken on a steadily growing public role, leading state banquets, representing the monarchy on foreign visits, and stepping in for engagements his father can't manage. Then there's the fallout from Prince Andrew. Charles stripped his younger brother of his royal titles and his residence at Royal Lodge in 2025, following years of pressure over Andrew's association with Jeffrey Epstein. Royal commentators have described it as the most serious crisis facing the institution since the abdication of Edward VIII in 1936. And notably, unlike 1936, this crisis was resolved without anyone giving up the throne. It was handled through title removal and public distancing, a modern tool the monarchy didn't reach for in earlier eras. These are the two forces shaping everything else. A king managing his health in public, and an institution that just proved it can discipline itself from within rather than waiting for a dramatic exit. Here's where the story gets murkier. Over the past several months, a wave of reports, mostly citing unnamed insiders or palace sources, have claimed Charles is preparing to step back, possibly even abdicate, in William's favor. Some have pointed to specific moments, like Charles appearing tired at public events, as evidence. Others claim there's tension between father and son over the pace of William's growing responsibilities, with one report describing William as frustrated that promised authority hasn't fully materialized. It's worth being honest about what these stories are. Anonymously sourced claims from tabloid and celebrity news outlets, not statements from Buckingham Palace. None of them have been confirmed by the palace, and several contradict each other. One week Charles is reportedly ready to step aside within weeks. The next he's reportedly asserting that he's still very much in charge and in no rush to retire. That contradiction itself tells you something. When an institution stays quiet, the information vacuum gets filled by speculation, by competing anonymous sources, and increasingly, by AI-generated content that invents entire scenes, quotes, and secret documents that never existed. It's worth staying skeptical of any royal story built around a supposed leaked memo or word-for-word private conversation. Real palace communications happen through official statements, not dramatic reveals. So if Charles were to step back through abdication, or simply by delegating more formal authority to William, as monarchs have done for less dramatic reasons throughout history, what would that even involve? Abdication in the UK is not simple. When Edward VIII abdicated in 1936, it required an Act of Parliament, the Declaration of Abdication Act. Any modern abdication would likely require similar legislation, given how the monarchy is embedded in the UK's constitutional structure and its relationship with the 14 other Commonwealth realms where Charles is also head of state. It's not a decision one person signs alone in a private room. It involves government, not just family. Short of full abdication, though, monarchs have other tools. Charles could formally delegate more of his official duties to William under existing frameworks, similar to how Queen Elizabeth II gradually shifted responsibilities to Charles in her final years without ever stepping down. That kind of gradual handover, visible in things like who leads state visits, who represents the crown abroad, who takes the lead on ceremonial functions, is arguably already happening in slow motion, and it's the version of transition most royal historians consider realistic. What's very unlikely is anything resembling a sudden, secretly drafted decree forcing an early coronation. The coronation itself is a religious and constitutional ceremony coordinated with the Church of England, Parliament, and the Commonwealth, not something a monarch could quietly schedule behind closed doors, even if he wanted to. Strip away the speculation and what's left is genuinely compelling. A father managing a serious illness while still performing one of the most scrutinized jobs on the planet, and a son who has spent his entire life being trained for a role he can't step into until his father is no longer able or willing to hold it. That tension isn't unique to royalty. It echoes something families everywhere navigate. How do you plan for the future without treating a parent's decline as something to plan around out loud? For the Windsors, that private negotiation just happens to unfold under constant public speculation, tabloid headlines, and now, increasingly, AI-generated content pretending to know what was said behind closed doors. Whatever Charles decides, and by all public indications, he intends to continue reigning for now, the institution has already shown, through how it handled Andrew, that it's capable of adapting without collapsing into crisis. That may end up being the more significant story than any single succession headline. We don't know exactly when or how the crown will pass to William. Nobody outside a very small circle does, and anyone claiming otherwise, especially with dramatic quotes attached, should be read with real skepticism. What we do know is grounded in public record. An ongoing health battle handled with more openness than past monarchs showed. A growing public role for the heir, and an institution that recently proved it can protect itself from scandal without a constitutional crisis. That's the real story of this moment in the monarchy. Not a secret decree, but a slow, closely watched, very human transition happening largely in plain sight. If you found this useful, a like helps this kind of grounded, fact-checked royal coverage reach more people. And if you want more stories that separate real reporting from speculation, subscribing is the best way to catch the next one. Let us know in the comments what you think a real transition should look like, and whether you think Charles will make it official himself. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.